partner. We're proud to partner with Crowded Learning, which is a program of world education, to offer this this unique professional development opportunity with a purpose. We had a similar partnership focused last year on on health literacy, which resulted in a lot of really interesting activities. And all of these are free resources that are available, centered on our health literacy curriculum here at FLC called Staying Healthy. And we decided to do another initiative this year focused on financial literacy. And I couldn't be more pleased to introduce our co-presenters today, who will be taking the lead on this initiative over the next 3 sessions and in subsequent content development. So Mary Gaston and Jeff Gomez, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Well, greetings, everyone. So glad to be here and glad to see people continuing to sign on. We did end up with a pretty good number to register. We just hope they all show up. I'm going to ask if Greg or Zara one could make Jeff and or me co-host, because we'll need to be setting up breakout rooms in a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you. So I am Mary Gaston. Some of you were with us for our exploration session a couple of weeks ago. So I introduced myself to you, but in case there are new ones on the call, I am working as the consultant project facilitator for this through World Ed. My regular job is retirement after spending about 30 years in the field of adult ed and family literacy. I do work part-time for South Carolina Adult Ed, and then occasionally get the great fortune to work on projects like this with World Ed, and so glad to be here today. Jeff?
I'm Jeff Gomez. I am with World Education, a senior technical advisor and director of the Crowded Learning Initiative, which is our the World Education's initiative focused on open education resources. So really excited to see some familiar faces and some new faces, all in the service of making sure that it's easier for volunteers and instructors and even learners to connect to high quality resources for skills that are critical, such as financial literacy. And on behalf of Rachel, who's she'll be supporting at different parts and pieces of this project. Rachel Riggs is also with World Education. She does a lot of work with professional development and ed tech, as well as with crowded learning. And you may have seen her name pop up. She's been doing a lot focused on artificial intelligence and implications of artificial intelligence within adult education. And so she will also be supporting at different parts of our journey together.
Okay, so let's get started. Today's outline is, first of all, welcome and housekeeping, which is what we're doing right now. We also want to talk briefly about the importance of making sure that you're in Google Classroom, because that's where the project materials are and the other resources that we make available to you. We want to get a quick view of where it is we're going. Sometimes it's really great to begin with the end in mind and to see why we're doing some of the things that we're doing. So we're going to take a look at what the end product will be, and then we're going to dive into that participant workbook. Every topic that we're going to be exploring over the next few weeks has its own workbook. A group will be assigned to a topic and have that workbook, and that's where we're putting the stuff in the workbook that will eventually be in the end product. That's where we work together. So let's get started. So dive into Google Classroom and
Google Classroom for financial literacy.
Jeff, if you can put that link into the chat, it's easier, in my opinion, to join with that direct link to the Google Classroom. There are other ways to join as well, which we've been including in the emails that you've been receiving. But I am going to jump in to the Google Classroom, kind of give you a quick overview. This is what we call the stream. And so that's where we can all communicate with each other. And I'm scrolling down because on May the 12th, I put this announcement here and said, as you come into the classroom, introduce yourself, take a look at who else is in the room, tell us what you do, where you work, and anything else you'd like to share with the group, because we've got folks from all over. I know this is a Florida project, but we've got a lot of friends across the country who have agreed to join in and help us get this project put together. So we're glad for everyone who's here. There's 21 class comments, and it's probably folded up for you. If you click that, you can go down and read everyone's introduction, and then to add your own, you just go to the bottom and you put your message there. It's never too late to add to that, so we get an idea of who all is with us in this project. Another thing that's very important on this in this classroom is this section right here that says classwork. That's where a lot of information is housed to make your work easier or more accessible. Your page is not going to look exactly like mine, but this is the classwork page. And one of the sections I want to make sure you're familiar with is this one called Project Info. We have information session, recording, and slides down here, added around May 21st, or actually it was edited May 21st. We've got the slides from 2 weeks ago when we did an exploration session where we dived in and took a look at some of those financial literacy resources. We have something called a Skill Blocks, which is a product of Crowd Ed Learning and World Education that has learning resources for us. So as we talk about things like today, plain language, and you want to know more about it, there's resources here for you. It's got the brain there. We've got to keep that brain working. And then other things available here, the Padlet that we've referred to often in your email communications. We've got the project examples we'll be taking a look at. Those are the ones that Jeff and I worked through ahead of time. So we were aware of what it is that we're asking you guys to do, because we've been there and done it. And two, we know that you're going to be able to teach us even more things about what it was that we put together. And then we're going to take a look at a financial literacy glossary that we're using for the project. So very important information here in project info. And really important today is this, session 1. If you like to have the slides as you go through, they're available for you here. And then when we start breaking out into groups, you're going to want to know how to get right here to the group workbooks. I'm going to expand that, and you'll see that there are 7 workbooks. There are 7 workbooks in here, and you'll be assigned to one of those topics. And when you're in your breakout group, you're going to actually want to click on this and open it up, because you'll be working in it. And some groups, they all open it and work in it together. Some groups, they decide one will show the workbook and one will be the recorder. That's up to you, but I encourage all of you to get familiar and comfortable with adding information to the workbooks, because it's going to take all of you to get the work done. So just know that that's where you're going to find those resources. And I'm going to stop for a minute and see if we have any questions. Okay, well, I hope everyone does get joined to the classroom. I think we had about 14 when I last looked this morning. So the topics. Now, how do we choose what topics that we're focusing on? Financial literacy is a big subject area. That came from you guys. It came from the field. You were there was surveys asking about which topics do you find do you believe to be most important? And the top 8 were selected. One of them, protecting your finances, that's the one that Jeff and I have actually worked through using this topic. The rest of you will be assigned to one of the other 7 topics. Now, some of you responded to one of the surveys that we sent out, and if you did, you got to designate your top 2. And I believe we were able to accommodate everybody. If you didn't respond to that, we didn't know, but we have still assigned you to a group. So let's take a look at where we're going. This is the end product. This is something called a Wakelet. I noticed from some of the surveys that a lot of people haven't worked with Wakelet. That's fine. We are going to make it very accessible and very doable. A Wakelet is a digital tool that allows you to collect and curate resources. Now, sometimes a Wakelet is put together for students, a lesson. We do that a lot in South Carolina. It's one of our preferred tools. But a Wakelet, I also use Wakelets now when I do professional development. It's a way for me to put all of the handouts and resources in one place. So it is a tool that we're using, and our goal here is to create something that is for teachers. Okay, this is not intended to be for students. It's intended to be for teachers, and it's a collection of resources for teachers to use to teach financial literacy, vocabulary, and concepts. So let's jump out real quick and take a look at it. And Jeff has dropped the link in the chat as well. So we did protecting your finances. The first section contains what we're calling topic explanations. Okay. These are the resources that I know as an educator, I often need resources to get myself up to speed. And then, so some of them I might use for that. Some of them I might use with students. And we'll talk more about that, the characteristics of these different resources in a few more slides. But this is where we're putting our resources to help us wrap our head around concepts related to protecting finances. So those are all in this first section. The second section is about the vocabulary related to this specific topic. We did put the links to the big glossaries that we're pulling from, but we're also going to include a glossary just for our topic. And we'll take a look at that, not right now, but in a few more slides. So we're creating a slide glossary from the words that we choose. And we're also going to have links to any Learning Chocolate study sets that are available. And we may even have teacher created activities. That we'll talk more about that later on in the project, but you might decide to create a Jamboard to work with this vocabulary, or create a word wall related to your vocabulary. And again, we're talking about the vocabulary for your topic. And this last section here is leveled readings. Now, we've got 2 sources for these leveled readings, and one is Reading Skills for Today's Adults. The other one is Bow Valley ESL Literacy Readers. We have pulled together a selection of these leveled readers that relate to financial literacy, and we have them in your workbooks. And what you will do is go through and find ones that relate to your topic. So for us, it was protecting finances, and a stolen wallet was one that fit that topic. So we selected it. It so happened we didn't have any from Bow Valley before. This is public. We will delete this section since there weren't any, but we wanted to make sure you saw that that's our intent, is to post, include all of them that relate to the topic. And then, of course, we're licensing what we're doing with a Creative Commons license that says people can copy this, they can adapt it to suit themselves. They may not want all of those topic explanations. They may want to simplify. That's up to them, but they're supposed to give attribution. That's the kind of Creative Commons license that we used here. All right, so that is one of the end products. a teacher-facing collection of resources, and it has these components in it. Another part that actually is part of the Wakelet is we're building a glossary related to our topic, an open glossary. This open glossary will have terms, definitions, images, pronunciation links, and sentences that use the word in context. And then you guys can be engaged in helping us build activities related to these words, or people who access this in the future can also build their own activities. But that's what we mean by it being open and accessible and adaptable. I had another thought and it just slipped out of my mind. So if I think of it, I will come back. But we will be using a template to build our glossary for our topic using probably 8 to 10 of the vocabulary words. These topic explanations, where did they come from? That first section in the Wakelet, we chose 6 resources, and they have different tools, different look, different presentation. 2 of them are government agency sponsored. This one, FDIC Money Smart and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Those are both government agencies. Then we have 3 through the middle here that are sponsored by banks. And then we have one sponsored by a nonprofit that has resources and information for immigrants. And this one is called USA Hello. One of the things we've been doing is exploring these different topic explanations within a Padlet. So I'm going to jump out to that Padlet. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I am going to invite you to continue the work that's being done there. We've asked people, each one of these is one of the resources. And we've asked you to dive in. You can do that by clicking on this colored tile under each one of the resources. Dive in and explore it. And you can see that some of you have started making comments about it. Overall observations, insights into those resources. And under each one, we have added questions. The same questions are under each topic. What levels would you use this with? Does it have downloads and print materials that could be helpful for when you don't have access, say corrections setting? Does it have languages other than English? Would you use this with, how would you use it with your learners? What kinds of interactives are available? So as you dive in, continue to dive into these topic explanations, we invite you to respond to these questions. You just click right here where it says add comment, and you can put your answer to those questions. Or if you prefer, you want to do an overall comment like Mary did here and someone did here, you would click this plus and it would open up a place where you can post your comment. So please continue to do that, because one of the things that we're also hoping to build with this project is something that I'm going to let Jeff tell you about if he's available. Jeff, are you available?
I am. So one of the things that we, as Greg mentioned at the start of this, we did a makerspace last year around Florida Literacy Coalitions. Sorry, I didn't notice my camera was off. Around Florida Literacy Coalitions, Staying Healthy curriculum. And so in that instance, we were building and aligning resources around a set curriculum. And so the core driver of that project was Staying Healthy for Beginners and Staying Healthy, which have chapters. And so each one of the Wakelets was around the chapter. So it was very clear, this is your core resource, this chapter from Staying Healthy. And then here are additional things that you could layer in, as well as interactive activities that makers created to supplement that PDF curriculum. So it was very clear cut in terms of what each of those Wakelets was. In this case, we know, as Mary showed in the slide before, we're pulling from financial institution resources. We're pulling from government resources into each of these wakelets. And so as part of this, you won't be necessarily designing what you see here, but we're going to be asking for inputs as you guys work through curating activities to help us characterize each of the resources so that when a teacher encounters this program, all of these topical wakelets, they're going to know that each one of the wakelets includes resources from each of these particular sources, and they'll have information about, what is the level of learner that this might be appropriate with, what kinds of resources are there, like the one of them, Better Money Habits, it's not Better Money Habits, that's another one, has games associated with each of the topics. Some of them have assessments, some of them have simulations or financial calculators that go with each of them. And so this will be a guide that we're creating based on your input as you're playing around with curating and creating resources, so that we can have a sort of overview guide that says this is what the library is. These are the topics that are covered, and these are the resources within, so that it's a guide for someone who encounters these to know exactly how they can use the materials.
Okay. And that would be very helpful, I know, to me, if I were looking at this wide range of resources to have narrowed down, depending on the group that I'm working with. I can look at the characteristics of different ones and decide that way. So I think it'll be a very helpful guide for users. So part of this we talked about is building a financial literacy glossary. We use two main resources to help build a project-wide glossary. And one of those was Money Smart, and the other, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So both of those helped us build this huge glossary that we made it available for you to look at. You won't be working in this huge glossary. That was a starting place for us. Then we characterized, I'll show you what it looks like. We characterized the words or assigned them a topic, and some applied to more than one topic. You can see we have, I think, close to 200 words. Again, this is project-wide. Don't hang up. Don't quit the meeting. You're not going to be dealing with all of these. What we did was use these topics then to pull a glossary for each of you, each of the topics. And when you work today with your group, you're going to be working on selecting 8 to 10 of those to build your glossary for the project, for your topic. So let's talk a little bit about the workbook. You're going to get familiar with it in your first breakout. And the first tab is your instructions. I'm going to go through the slides and then actually dive into one of the workbooks to show you a close-up view. So this is in Google Sheets. And so you have a lot of pages in here. The first one is always going to be your instructions. The second tab or the second page is going to be your group member information. So you'll add your name and your email address, and make sure it's a good email address for you, because I may be using that to get in contact with you. And if you designate a group leader, you don't have to, but if you do, mark which person is that, because that would be a good contact for us to have also. So that's one of the things. After you introduce yourselves to each other, you're going to make sure you've got your group member information, and everyone can be working in the workbook at the same time. Then you have a tab that has topic explanations. You are not going to have time in your group to look at all of them, but you can check out 1 or 2 to get an idea of what you have there. Again, we have hundreds of topic explanations, but you don't in your specific topic, but you do have a wide variety. So start getting to know some of those, and you may want to come up with a plan for dividing them up in order to conquer. The next page is topic vocabulary. So you will have a set of words and each topic has a different number of words, but you're going to choose which ones you want to include in your glossary from that selection. And we recommend working with 8 to 10. It works better. You don't want to throw a whole lot of words at somebody at one time, and having 8 to 10 to build tools like the Jamboards or the word wall, that's a very good number to work with. All right, so we're going to let's see, do we have breakout rooms?
Yes.
We do. Okay, then I'm going to back out of that real quick.
Do people know what they're assigned to?
No, that's what I'm going to do right now. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit. And I haven't had a chance to see who all is here, so I may be calling names of people who aren't here. But for budget and spending, we have Kate, Gloria, and Christine. For credit basics, we have Frida, Brittany, and Bryce, and Anna. We have 4 in that group. For dealing with debt, we have Karen Feenan, starts with an F because I know we have another Karen. Kathy Severson, Marisol Roberts, and Rocio Susi. I hope I did that close to being right. Feel free to unmute and let me know. For personal banking, we have Darlene, Rosalind Shell, and Renu Sharma. For savings, we have Veronica, Linda McReynolds, Penny Chastain, and Jolena Slayane. Thank you for doing that. Setting financial goals, we have Karen Strange, Victor, Evelyn, and Mary Zelmer. And for taxes, we have Linda Fermo Garcia, Brad Myers, and Michelle Hill. So I hope everyone is happy with your group, with your topic. And I will go back to the slide deck and talk about, again, what it is that you're going to do. But before I do that, I did want to dive into one of the books. So now that you know which group you're in, if you go to the classroom and you go to classwork page, go down to group workbooks, it'll be folded up like this for you. You expand it and you find which group you're in. Okay. So I'm going to dive into credit basics to show you the different pages we were talking about. So this one I'm going to make it bigger for us. So this is our tab giving us our instructions. And the only things that we're going to do right now are 1 through 3. Okay. 1 through 3 is all that you're doing now. And you're not going to be doing all of the instructions for number 3. We're keeping it simple. So you're going to introduce yourself to each other. Then you're going to add your names and email addresses to that second page, second tab. Then you'll have a little bit of time, not a lot, to explore some of the topic explanations. A lot of you have done that already, so you won't need as much. Those of you who haven't had that opportunity yet, you'll want to make sure you do a good bit of that between now and our next session. And then you're going to go to the glossary page and you are going to start to choose words. You can see Credit Basics has about 44 terms. You're going to try to choose your top 8 to 10 and do that as a group. And that's all that we do at this point. Leave the other columns blank. Don't try to work ahead yet because we've got some good tools for you to use. So introduce yourselves, add names and emails to the workbook, explore some of the topic explanations, and choose relevant vocabulary. Is everybody good? Does anyone have any questions before we send you to your groups?
Can you, I think when we open the breakout rooms, maybe go back to the slide that shows what group they're in. Or the file, sorry. Yeah, there we go. All right.
Does anyone not know what group you're in? So Jeff, you have it set up where they'll choose their breakout room?
Yeah, I wasn't,
Okay,
I didn't know where these were.
gotcha.
I'm gonna zoom out so they're all, although I'm on like a massive screen today, so there we go. All right, I'm gonna open the rooms. And how long do we have?
Let's see where we are. We are at 12:30. Oh, good. Let's do 15 minutes.
All right.